Facebook now. So we can go ahead and admit people into the waiting room. Oops.
Are we good to go, Mary Jo?
Good to go.
Okay. Well, I'll get us started. I want to say welcome everybody to the SBA Open Forum number 9, I believe this is. I first want to say thank you again to the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center for hosting these forums. They have been an excellent partner for SBA as we try to get the word out on our programs to help people impacted by COVID-19. This webinar, we were hoping to provide you more information on legislation being passed in Congress. Of course, they are still debating that. We don't have anything new to share. However, we will provide you the latest information that we have on PPP, on EIDL, and answer your questions. For those of you who've been here before, you'll know that we like to spend a short amount of time, 10 to 15 minutes, covering the programs and providing you the latest information, but preserving the balance of the time to allow you to ask questions and have those answered. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first slide. I'd like to give you the numbers of where we stand in regards to PPP. As you can see across the country, there have been an enormous amount of loans approved. The PPP program closed August 8th, so there have been no more added to that. We don't have the numbers for that last week, but the numbers that we do have take us through July 31st. Here in the Virgin Islands, we had just under 2,000 loans approved as of July 31st for a little over $125 million. And it's important to remember that that is $125 million that is forgivable in the hands of Virgin Island businesses as long as they use the funds appropriately as the program was designed. And my colleague will go through those details a little bit later. Also, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan has been the other primary tool from SBA. Over 5,781,000 have been dispersed across the country for $20 billion, which is a huge amount. But here in the USVI, we're at 1,829 advances that were dispersed before that program ended, and that represents 6,500,000. Wait, idle advance sellers. 6,500,000 idle advance dollars that were distributed before that program closed. And then we had, as of July 26, 1,448 loans approved for $81 million. Those are loans, not grants, but they are under excellent terms, which I'll cover a little bit later. So we can go to the next slide. So I'll cover economic injury disaster loans. This program continues through December, although PPP has ended for the time being. You cannot apply for a PPP loan. You can apply for an economic injury disaster loan. Just by visiting our site, you can see the link to apply. The program itself, or the application itself, takes approximately 20 minutes. As I mentioned earlier, these are low interest loans to small businesses and nonprofits with a repayment term of up to 30 years. The interest rates are 3.75% for businesses, 2.75% for nonprofits. You do not have to provide any collateral if that loan is less than $25,000, but you will need to if it's over $25,000. The cap on that is $150,000. That may be changed, but for now, the cap is $150,000 for all businesses and nonprofits. It's important to know that if you do receive an economic injury disaster loan, your payments are deferred for 12 months, and there are no penalties for an early payoff of an economic injury disaster loan. We emphasize that because I encourage business owners and nonprofits, if you are struggling right now and you think you might need the funds and you're not sure, go ahead and apply, keep those in a bank account. If you do not need those funds, you can return those. But if you do need them, it is good to have them there and in your bank account ready to go when needed. The funds can be used for a lot of things, but there are things that it cannot be used for, which I'll cover on the next slide. Go ahead. So an economic injury disaster loan is different than previous disaster loans that you may have received in the past. The dividends cannot be used for a variety of things, which are listed here on the site. But specifically, I want to touch upon a few of them. They cannot be used for replacement of physical damages. That is for a different loan. You cannot give yourself bonuses. You cannot pay off old debts or reconsolidate debts. You cannot purchase new equipment and expand your business in some way or relocate. It's good to think of an economic injury disaster loan as proceeds used to help get you through your normal operating procedures. So if you have bills that come due each month, whether that's a lease, payroll, or loan payments or others that you would have difficulty getting through, that's what these economic injury disaster loans are for, to get through those. It's not meant to kind of recreate your business in a new way or pay yourself bonuses or do some expansions. So next slide, please. And one last thing I'll talk about with economic injury disaster loans, the EIDL loans, is that we have seen attempts to capture applicants' personal information. So if you receive an email like this one on this slide has actually been sent out to Virgin Island businesses. It's actually been sent around the country, but Virgin Island businesses have also received this. This is an email that looks like it's ours. It says disaster customer service at sba.gov, which is a legitimate email address. However, it comes from an Eventbrite account. If you click on this email where it says visiting here, you'll be taken to a site where it'll have the SBA logo, it'll look like SBA, and it'll ask you a few basic questions. One of them being your social security number. We shared this one with you because we want you to know that SBA would never ask for that sort of information over a third-party platform. So be aware, if you ever have concerns about something like that, you can send it to us, either me or Lisa, but we also have other resources that you can send that to report fraud. Just be aware that that is possible out there and be on your toes. So next slide, please. So with that, I'd like to turn over to my colleague, Lisa, who will explain the details of the Paycheck Protection Program and the forgiveness aspect. Lisa?
Okay. Thanks, Wayne, and good afternoon, everyone. So we closed the second round of Paycheck Protection Program on August 8th. And from what we heard from our lenders, there were continued applicants up to the very last moment. I guess, on Friday afternoon that they were trying to process. So we are happy that, close to 2,000 lenders, not lenders, close to 2,000 small businesses took advantage of the Paycheck Protection Program for its time. We don't know yet what will happen. So for now, no new applications are being accepted. And the forgiveness platform has been open to lenders today. So we have to wait and see how that goes. But for right now, the process remains as this. So if you look, the first column is what the borrower is responsible for. The second column is what the lender does. And the third column is how SBA feeds into the process. So if you look at the first column, it's labeled 1 through 10, which shows a chronology of how the process is going to flow. And one of the important things to note is that it's a long time. So forgiveness is not forgiveness. The use of your proceeds, your PPP proceeds, you have up to 24 weeks to use those proceeds once a loan is approved. If you got a loan approved early on, then it was 8 weeks, but you could ask to move to 24 weeks. Then after you use all of the funds, you have up to 10 months after the last part of the funds are used. So 10 months following your last use of funds, so 24 weeks, before you submit your form to the lender. And that form is Form 3508 or Form 3508EZ. Then once the lender receives a completed application with whatever documentation they may ask for from you to verify forgiveness, Then there is another 3 months. They have 60 days to issue a decision to SBA, and then SBA has another 3 months, 90 days, to respond to the lender. So the forgiveness decision is going to take, if you think of, you have 24 weeks to use your loan, you have up to 10 months to submit the forgiveness. Then from there, you have another 5 months to hear back. That's your longest case scenario, or depending on the volume of loans that they are processing at any time, it may be slightly shorter. The other thing to note inside of here is that if a lender, if a borrower also took an idle loan or received an idle advance, then the idle advance amount that was received will be deducted from the top of the PPP forgiveness amount, because the idle was an advance that you didn't have to repay, so it will be deducted from the PPP forgiveness amount. And then the only other thing that you need to know for right now is that the lender is responsible for notifying the borrower of the forgiveness amount, of if they reduced the level of forgiveness you asked for, or if they deny the application, and then when you have to start paying on any portion that is not forgiven. All right, so let's go on a little bit. So this is the loan forgiveness process. And I think we just mentioned that. So if the borrower wants SBA to review, then the borrower must notify the lender within 30 days. Let's just say if the lender denies the borrower's application in full, the lender must notify the borrower in writing. And then the appeal process is you must notify the lender within 30 days. And then the lender will notify SBA in 5 days following that 30 days. And then SBA reserves the right to review and will notify the lender if they decline the request review. And SBA may review a loan of any size at any time. And why this is important is that we've been stressing to keep your documentation clear. And for tax purposes, whatever documentation you have to support the loan, it is meant to be kept for 6 years' time. So when must the borrower apply for forgiveness or start making payments on a PPP loan? We spoke about that. So within 10 months after the last day of the covered period, and you only apply once for forgiveness. And if you used all of the funds before the 8 or the 24-week period, if you used all of those proceeds, then you can apply for forgiveness then. If the borrower has reduced any employee's salaries or wages in excess of 25%, then that must be accounted for, and we'll go into the safe harbors. And then the borrower must begin paying principal and interest within, once they get a decision on the forgiveness of the loan, then that's where it becomes payable as a loan, whatever portion is not forgiven. So on the right-hand side of this slide, you will see the form 3508EZ, and that's kind of like what the first, what it looks like, just that you get a sense. And you can access those forms at www.sba.gov/PPP. Most borrowers will end up using the loan forgiveness application form 3508. There are a few who can use the easy forgiveness form if you are a self-employed borrower with no employees, and so you're an individual contractor or you're a self-employed person, then you may use the easy form. If you had employees but you didn't reduce wages by more than 25% for your employees, and you didn't reduce the number of employees or the average paid hours for employees, so in other words, if it was business as normal for you with the same number of employees and the same hours of operation, you didn't reduce any of that by less than 25%, by more than 25%, you too would be eligible to use the form 3508EZ. Or if you didn't reduce wages by more than 25%, and you can provide documentation that due to government orders and the different stages, that you were not allowed to operate at the same level of activity because of government restrictions. So those are the parameters under which you would fill out the form 3508 easy, and everyone else just the regular 3508 form. So generally, what do you need to provide? So you fill out the form, and then with payroll, the proof of payment. So the proof of payment, you're looking at bank account statements, tax forms, receipts, cancel check, account statements. And then for non-payroll, you want documentation that shows where you paid either the mortgage or the rent or your utilities. But all of those things, that's what you're paying for business. You know, those were existing contracts before February 15th. They were in existence prior to February 15th. So this is not a new mortgage that you took out because you got the PPP loan. This is all stuff that you would normally have paid, and you're using up to 40% to pay on any of those. And so that's the kind of documentation that you might be asked to provide to your lender: utility invoices, your copy of your lease, copy of cancel checks, and so on. And then for the 3508, the loan forgiveness calculation form, so this is the one that is a bit longer, the documentation showing average number of full-time employees on payroll during referenced time periods, and then a Schedule A. And we'll continue a bit. I know we'll probably have some more questions. So what happens if you reduced the number of hours, then you offer to restore it, but restore the reduction in hours, and the employee declined the offer? So when, if or even if you try to hire an employee and they decline the offer, so you want to be able to say or show that you made a good faith written offer to restore the reduced hours, that it was for the same salary and the same number of hours, that the offer was rejected, and you have, some written documentation showing that. And you are required to inform unemployment or Department of Labor of any employee's rejected rehire offer within 30 days of that employee's rejection of the offer. So that and then the last paragraph just says, what's the documentation that you may be asked for if you have to apply for one of the safe harbors. The second safe harbor is if you weren't able to have the same level of activity. And so basically you'd want to say, we were in between this date and that date, we were in the stay at home, and so I was not able to operate my business, and so on. And the documentation that you would want would be applicable COVID requirements or guidance, and then the relevant borrower financial records. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Huttleson to go through some resources that you have.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Hold on, actually, I hit the wrong thing. There we go. I just want to touch upon a few resources we have going forward. Of course, in this webinar, we give you very basic information on these two programs. And going forward, we will expect to give you more information on these, plus other things as they come out from SBA. However, we encourage you not to wait for these webinars when you have a question. There are lots of other resources out there that can help you during the week or during the weekends, whenever. So I'm going to touch upon a few of these. If you are applying for an economic injury disaster loan, perhaps you have a loan in process and you need more information on it, do not contact us. We do not have the ability to look up your loan. However, if you call 1-800-659-2955 and have your application number handy, or just ask them general questions, they should be able to help you with your economic injury disaster loan. Of course, there is also the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, which information we'll give again on the next slide also, but their website is right here, visbdc.org. They have a lot of great information on their site, but you can sign up for one-on-one assistance. I've heard of them assisting with business owners with their economic injury disaster loan applications, with their PPP applications, but they can also help you with so many aspects of your business, and just making sure that you not only survive this period, but you come through it prepared and stronger and ready to grow as it goes on. There are also other federal resources. If you go to covid.sb.org, or you go to usa.gov/coronavirus, you will get a list of lots of federal resources in addition to SBA. There are entities out there that provide information and resources and programs available to help out. So next slide, please. And finally, here's our contact information. If you think of something after this presentation and need to call us or email us, you have both mine and Lisa's contact information there. You also have the information there for the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center for both islands. Well, St. Croix and then St. Thomas / St. John is there. We're always ready to assist. Just give us a call or an email and let us know how we can help out. So with that, as I said, we would like to keep our part short and open it up to you to answer your questions. If you don't have any questions, but you enjoyed the presentation or you got valuable information, please leave us some feedback below. We'd like to know how we're doing. But other than that, what questions do you have that we can answer for you, whether it is regards to PPP, EIDL, or anything SBA? We'd be happy to help answer those. All you have to do is, I believe at Zoom, it gives you the opportunity to raise your hand, or you can type in your question in chat. If more than 5 minutes go by and no one answers a question or asks a question, we will just end our session. But now is your opportunity. If you have any questions, just fire away and let us know. Thank you.
Okay, Wayne, this is Mary Jo from SBDC. I just wanted to emphasize that the SBDC also does not have access to your EIDL, to a person's EIDL record. We can't answer any questions about your EIDL. You have to go directly to the SBA Disaster Assistance phone number or email address.
Okay. There's one question where I was going to go back to the previous slide if possible.
Okay. All right. And Wayne, I know one of the questions that came in advance of the meeting was around, are there any specifics for payroll taxes for when you're submitting documentation? And we were chatting about it, and it's state specific, but that would have been included, whatever you would have included on the application form for the payroll protection program loan is what you would have to account for when you're asking for forgiveness. But other than that, it's just whatever you would normally pay in taxes for that employee.
While we're waiting, I'll launch a poll. If you guys could take 10, 15 seconds to answer the questions, which are, how did you hear about this SBA webinar? And the choices are email, social media, digital banner, radio interview, website, or word of mouth. And the poll will close in 2 seconds. Wow, 100% of the people heard about this via email. Thank you.
So does anyone want to brave the forum and come on and ask a question? We see some new names and new faces on this afternoon's.
The question was, why did Oriental Bank ask for a 1040 PR? That was because the forms were being originated from the Puerto Rico office. So if you'd just submitted your regular 1040, that would have sufficed.
Good afternoon. I was actually looking for the raise hand, but couldn't find it in my reactions. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. What documentation would the, I know what documentation a client would have to provide to us, but would we in turn provide that very documents when submitting the request to SBA for the forgiveness, or that would be just for our file? This is from the lender.
Hello, I think this is Monique.
Mhm.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Your documentation, I'm not sure the portal was open today for all of you as lenders on what to submit. Once you as a lender make the decision on whether something is forgivable. So I don't know, I would just follow that portal. I have not seen or walked through the portal myself, but I think you probably would need to submit all the documentation that you see to us as well.
Okay, okay. And I'll look at the email that I didn't get an opportunity to go into it. Thank you.
No problem.
While we're waiting for another question to pop up in the chat, I have another poll. And the poll question, which islands, or should be island, are you on? The choices are St. Croix, St. John, St. Thomas, Water Island, or other. I know we've had some people visit us from Puerto Rico during some of these webinars.
Well, the SBA office, the district office is in Puerto Rico and US Virgin Islands. So it's nice to get a cross section of participants.
Aha. And we'll close in about 3 seconds. Oh man, they keep answering questions. Okay, 2 more seconds. Poll closing. And the majority of the people are not in the US Virgin Islands. 44% said other. 22% are St. Croix, 33% are St. Thomas, and 44% are other. So you have good reach.
We have good reach. And I would encourage all of our St. Thomas and St. Croix and St. John and Water Island people to register if you are on Twitter. That we do have a Twitter account, and even though it says SBA _Puerto Rico, that it also represents the US Virgin Islands. So don't be afraid to register on that, because all of our events are also marketed in Spanish and in English from that Twitter account. So I would encourage you, it's twitter.com/SBA _Puerto Rico.
Well, we don't seem to have a lot of questions today, so I think we're fairly safe to wrap up. Last few things I will leave you with is one, again, our information is there. Please reach out to us or share our information with others who you think may benefit from information from us on PPP or EIDL. Let us know how we can help. And if we could skip to the last slide. Again, if you have any feedback from our presentation, we'd like to hear it from you. Just go to sba.gov/feedback. It's like a 1-minute question. I think there's maybe 10 questions that they ask and on where the presentation was and if it met your needs. We enjoy getting that feedback. And so that's it. Hopefully next week we will have another presentation, but by then there will be some more legislation passed providing significant updates for PPP that we can provide. And I expect we'll have a lot more to share then. But again, in the meantime, if you have any questions, please reach out to us or the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, and we'll be happy to help. Until then, good luck out there, stay safe, and
have a good afternoon.
Good work, yes, thank you.
And thank you for joining.